Round 4 of the 2022 Euroformula Open season sees the teams and the drivers head to the legendary Spa-Francorchamps, the 7-kilometre circuit, so renowned for great racing and its mighty elevation change. 14 laps or 35 minutes of racing set to begin very shortly for the Euroformula Open competitors, and the qualifying session earlier today was a little bit dramatic. It was a limited run for quite a few of the teams and drivers out there. A lot of drivers deciding to only do one run right at the end of the qualifying session. One of those drivers was our pole sitter, Oliver Goethe. It worked out for him. He ended up on pole position, but a late red flag for Vladislav Lomko's spin coming out of Fania caused problems not just for himself. He didn't get a fast lap in, nor did Josh Mason, nor did Freddie Lubin. So there are a few drivers working from the back of the order, and that's going to make things very interesting when we go racing shortly. Spec single-seater racing at Spa is invariably a very exciting thing. Myself, Adam Weller and George Morgan here in the commentary box, very excited to see what happens as we get this fourth round started with the first race of 3 this weekend. George, Goethe on top, but not in the circumstances we're familiar with, and he's got something of a new challenger alongside him there on the front row in the form of Philippe Ugran. He does indeed, a challenger that has no less been very, very quick all weekend long, of course. Third in practice in both FP1 and FP2, and has come away with P2 out of qualifying as well. First of all, good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon to you, Adam Weller. It's a pleasure to be here at Spa-Francorchamps as we now witness the cars make their way out on the formation lap. The sun bearing down on everybody this weekend. It's an absolute blissful weekend that we have weather-wise. Tremendous indeed. Certainly no better for single-seater racing. But you're absolutely right, Oliver Goethe on top in very different circumstances. Of course, we had the red flag at the end of qualifying, which led to the end of the session a little bit earlier than expected, but nevertheless, it did cause a few stirs in terms of the classification, because of course there were drivers such as Freddie Lubin and Josh Mason who were unable to finish their fast laps towards the end, getting through to Sector 2, but not quite enough for Sector 3. Yes, exactly. They were 2/3 of the way round when that red flag came out because of Lomko's moment. It was painful stuff. I know that Freddie Lubin in particular was less than impressed with what happened in that one, but it is all a part of racing. Eventually, he recognised that, everyone recognising that. Josh Mason as well, of course, will have to work with that handicap that they've been issued, really, with Vladislav Lomko's moment. But it is going to be very interesting. Oliver Goethe and Philippe Ugran had a spectacular fight in the 79th Po Grand Prix last month, where Goethe eventually made a stunning move on Philippe Ugran, and I'm very much looking forward to see the two of them lock heads again. I hope they do, because of course heading into the start of this race, it's going to be helter-skelter down through towards La Source, not forgetting the long rise heading out of Eau Rouge and Radillon up through the Kemmel Strait. Of course, those of you who might be familiar with Spa, I'm sure many of you are, but nevertheless, this 70,000 capacity, certainly the circuit, FIA Grade 1, of course, but opened in 1921. 19 corners beckon for these drivers, 7.004 kilometers, and plenty of spiciness to make any race certainly one to watch. And I'm looking forward to seeing what these talented youngsters have on offer for us this weekend. Who's going to lead into La Source? Is it going to be Goethe? Is it going to be Ugran? That is the big, bold question. Could Christian Mansell launch something down the outside? Who knows, Adam Weller? It's certainly going to be a... Pardon me? Turning on the mic is always helpful. Yes, it's certainly going to be interesting to see what Christian can do. He's always a fast starter, well established, and of course here at Spa it's a fairly short run down to turn 1, which is La Source hairpin. It's a short run, but it's also a very, very tight corner, and you'd suggest that Christian Mansell could have every chance of making the move if the opportunity is afforded to him. But of course, ahead of him on the road will be Ollie Goethe. Goethe, who in the early stages of the season really couldn't get the car launched properly more often than not. At Estoril, he really did have a bad time of it, but that was drilled, I think, between himself and driver coach Stuart Hall in the gap between then and Po, which was back-to-back Estoril and Po at the start of the year. And ever since then, Ollie has been on a great form when it comes to the starts as well. There is Oliver Goethe, our championship leader by, well, it was 35 points coming into this weekend, but with that pole position, he will have extended that lead further. So a firm championship lead at the moment for Goethe. Philip Ugran, meanwhile, has not had the best of seasons to this point. I think he'll tell you that as well. His own lofty expectations haven't been matched by the performances so far, but it seems as though he and Van Amersfoort have put together a car that works well for him on this occasion, and let's see if he can use that to get onto the podium, perhaps even the top step of the podium. Christian Mansell there in third place, and great to see him there alongside the Mexican racer Alex Garcia, who sits in fourth position once again, and I said this last time at Paul Ricard, it seems to be becoming a theme, his best starting position to date in Euroformula Open. Alex Garcia improving week on week. Francesco Simonazzi there in a fifth position for BVM Racing. Sixth place alongside him is Sebastian Ogard in the Van Amersfoort Racing car. He's one of the drivers in the rookie class. In fact, Garcia, Simonazzi and Ogard all in the rookie class. So the top three rookie class runners in fourth through sixth in the overall classifications. Philip Camignaz is next, the returning driver, subbing in for Nicola Marinangeli this weekend. Great to have the Polish racer back with us in Euroformula Open. This is a circuit where he ran well last year. Let's see what he can do this time from seventh on the grid. Freddie Lubin there for Team Motorpark. He starts in eighth position in car number 78. He's been had unfortunate luck so far this year, has Freddie Lubin, but we know what he's capable of. He was fastest in FP2 yesterday. Let's see what he can do in this race. Josh Mason in ninth position there in the 21 car, and then alongside him will be Vladislav Lomko, the man who brought out the red flag earlier on with his slight error. The driver based in Paris will be looking to make his way through the order. Now we're going to take a look at what happened last time at Paul Ricard. So this was the start of the first race, and Josh Mason did not get off the line really well at all, unfortunately. And meanwhile, Christian Mansell got tagged from behind at the very first corner of the first race. He slid down to the back of the order. Freddie Lubin and Sebastian Ogard with a collision as well that would send Freddie Lubin spinning down the pack. And then Christian Mansell would continue to navigate his way through the order. Oliver Goethe, though, from the start of the race at the sharp end, he made it quite an easy win ultimately. Nicola Marinangeli was our pole sitter in race number 2, courtesy of the reverse grid. Close stuff between him and Mansell in the early going. It wouldn't be long before Mansell dispatched the Italian racer, but Marinangeli would get his elbows out as the race went on. Eventually, though, Oliver Goethe did find a way through. We then had this wonderful battle at the end of the race between Christian Mansell and Oliver Goethe, and on this occasion, race 2 on the Sunday morning at Paul Ricard, it was Mansell that topped the standings in the race and got some valuable championship points over Oliver Goethe. Josh Mason, unfortunately, didn't get to start race number 3. That was the gap you saw on the grid at the start of this third race. Christian Mansell was working his way through the order, and so was Oliver Goethe. Goethe and Ugran, again side by side. Shades of what we saw at Pau happened again at Paul Ricard, and once more, Oliver Goethe was our race winner in the third race of the weekend. Another extension upon his championship lead, another successful weekend for the Danish competitor, and this is what it did to the championship prior to qualifying today. Oliver Goethe on top with 171 points, Mansell on 136, and our Pau Grand Prix winner Vladislav Lomko on 170. Race number 1 getting started very shortly then. Just before, well, we'll go through the starting grid first then. Oliver Goethe and Philip Ugran on that front row of the grid. Let's see what Ugran can do. Mansell and Garcia, 3rd and 4th on the grid. Christian Mansell, the fast starter, he'll be looking to get in amongst it. Simonazzi and Ogard, 5th and 6th. Camignaz and Freddie Lubin on row number 4. And then rounding out the order, we have Josh Mason and Vladislav Lomko. I'd also just like to take the opportunity to say hello to Vladimir Netishil, who I'm sure is watching. The racer from Effective Racing was set to be here this weekend, but my understanding is that his partner is having a baby. So he's back home in the Czech Republic and missing the race for all the right reasons this weekend. We wish him well. We look forward to seeing him next time out at the Hungaro Ring. Oliver Goethe, though, is our pole sitter. The formation lap is about to get started, George, and it's going to be a very interesting start to this race. It's always a very intriguing opening lap at Spa.
Well, very unique. First corner, obviously, at La Source. You've got to make sure you get a good exit. It tees up effectively what goes on heading up through Eau Rouge, Radion, and then, of course, Kemmel. So the big question is, can Oliver Goethe hold on to that position? This is really vital, certainly when you discuss his record where it comes to race starts. You know, if he needs a good start to get off the line quick, and also at the same time get a good launch out of turn one.
One of my favorite tracks, and so far it's been going really well. That quali was very difficult, of course, only doing one run. There was the pressure to deliver just with one lap, and I did it, so that's a real positive, and I'm really happy with my lap, for sure.
But it was a good close fight.
Yeah, it was close. Obviously, those are red flags, so I think most people would have improved in the second push lap if there wasn't a red flag. But of course, there's always that risk of there being a red flag. So I had to do a good first push lap, which is what happened. And yeah, I'm really happy.
And this afternoon it's going to be very hot.
Yeah, it's going to be hot. It's going to be a good race, I think. Obviously, Spa, starting from P1 is very difficult because there's a lot of straights after the start. So I need to try hold that position, and then I have the confidence that my pace will be good. So as long as I keep that first spot, I think I can win the race.
Interesting words there from Oliver Goethe, and to his point, obviously the run to La Source, we've spoken about that. Provisional driver standings on screen, just to say as well. 172 points for Oliver Goethe, given his pole position today. So provisionally, that is how the top three stand in the championship at this point. But just to round back around to what Ollie said there, the run to La Source is one thing. You can be leading out of La Source, but that doesn't really mean anything, because you've then got Eau Rouge and Radion flat out in these cars, and then the huge run up the hill, up the Kemmel Straight and towards Le Combe. And if you are the race leader coming out of Eau Rouge and Radion, you are going to have to make a hugely wide car to still be in that position by the time you get to the next braking zone.
It's a very wide part of the circuit as well. Opportunities to go 3, maybe even 4 wide at that point, as we now see the on-looking Daniel Gilles, who's obviously the team boss at Van Amersfoort. Obviously, hopefully getting their weekend off to a good start, because, of course, Philippe Ugran, as we all know, currently sat in second place, yet again continuing his good form around this track. Let's see if this pace can hold up for Philippe. Can he get a good launch? That is the big question. Can he get the move done heading up through the Kemmel Straight? We'll have to wait and see. Plenty of other options, though, for Van Amersfoort. Sebastian Ogard is still very much in the mix. P6, of course, to his name, with Philippe Caminiaz as well on the grid too. So plenty of options in amongst the order. Christian Mansell also in third. Garcia with one of his best performances of the season so far. It's going to be a tasty one, Adam. I'm looking forward to it.
Certainly will be a tasty one. 2 Phillips now at Van Amersfoort Racing. It's all sent to Trias, of course. The formation lap coming to a close then. Keep an eye on those 3 at the back of the grid. Freddie Lubin, Josh Mason, Vladislav Lomko. They've all shown good pace this season and indeed this weekend, but the red flag towards the end of qualifying stopped all 3 of them from setting a competitive time in this quali session. Those 3 will be working from the back, but at the sharp end of the order, it's going to be Ollie Goethe who will be leading them off. Will he still be leading by the time they get to La Source? And what will happen from there onwards? Philippe Ugran with a statement of intent. Look at how he's angled on that grid slot in second position. He's going to go for it. Let's see what happens then. The lights are out and they are racing. Philippe Ugran with a decent start. Goethe's not had a brilliant one though, has he? Christian Mansell up the inside from third on the grid. He's in the lead. Christian Mansell has got to the lead of the race there. Another fast start from Christian Mansell. Mansell, who seems to have lightning reflexes. Second place is Oliver Goethe. That's Alex Garcia in third place, demoting Philipp Ugran down to fourth. Side by side for fifth between Simonazzi and Ogard. Simonazzi getting the better of that one, but Christian Mansell is now going to have to go defensive because here comes Oliver Goethe. Goethe side by side with Mansell. I think he's got a nose and an axle ahead already. Mansell has to duck back behind him, immediately gets into the slipstream, but I think Oliver Goethe losing the lead there may have helped him retain the lead by the time we get to the end of the first sector. Goethe definitely didn't mean to lose the lead before La Source, but it may have actually paid dividends.
Yeah, I have to say, what a moment leading in towards turn one. Christian Mansell getting the launch of a lifetime, moving himself up into second place. Francesco Simonazzi also under a lot of pressure now from Sebastian Ogard, who is right behind him and peppering that rear of that BVM car. But certainly Sebastian Ogard now around this next left-hander prevails, and he'll now move up into sixth place. So a great start here for Van Amersfoort so far. Still Philipp Ugran in the mix too. So he's down into P4 though, with Alex Garcia now up into third place. So he is certainly also full of beans right now. The highest rookie on the classification here at this moment in time. Oliver Goethe leads though. Christian Mansell all over his rear right now within a tenth of a second, but Goethe, he's in front.
And Josh Mason up to fifth place from the back of the order there. Very good stuff from Josh, who was one of the three drivers who didn't get a good lap in during qualifying. He's now there in fifth place. There's a bit of a gap between the top five, and then Sebastian Ogard in sixth place, and Freddie Lubin hasn't been able to make any forward progress yet. He sits there in 10th position. He's behind Philip Caminias, and he's going to be so keen to work his way up the order. Philipp Ugran, meanwhile, is going to want to get past Alex Garcia as soon as possible. Side by side through the bus stop. Can Ugran go all the way around the outside? No, he cannot. Very well defended by Alex Garcia, who continues to hold on to third place. And of course, as these two scrap, it allows Josh Mason to get closer, and we could well have three fighting for third in the next couple of seconds.
Josh Mason showing all kinds of pace right now, currently sat in fifth place. What a start he had, of course. Now tucked in behind Philipp Ugran, with Garcia ahead of the pair of them right now. Ollie Goethe still leads this race, but still Christian Mansell in second. That gap has now sprung out to a second. Goethe is on a mission, but you can see him behind. We've got a trio of cars that are making their way up through Eau Rouge and Radion. Very shortly they'll make their way up towards the Kemmel Straight. Huge opportunity now for Philipp Ugran if he could unleash the beast here, but Josh Mason also looks very pensive in behind. Potential for three wide, not this time, but still side by side between Alex Garcia and Philipp Ugran as they now head through into Les Combes. Still at the moment, oh, Garcia just shut the door slightly, and that forced certainly Philipp Ugran to have to take the escape, and now he's come through Les Combes, but still Garcia stays in third.
Very close stuff. Ugran still on the offensive here. Garcia, though, making sure he can hold on to third place by any means necessary, making a very wide motor park car and holds on to P3 for the time being. Ugran thought he wasn't quite going to find room at Les Combes, decided discretion the better part of valor, ran across the escape road. He remains in fourth position. Let's see how long it's going to take Ugran to line up another potential overtaking maneuver, as we had a car going off there in the back of shot. Not quite sure who that was, but someone came off. I think that might have been Caminias, who had a bit of a moment there. He was behind Simonazzi, certainly at the last sector split, and looked as though someone was in a bit of strife there going through Pouhon Bend. Sure enough, Caminias is missing there, so hopefully that car is still in one piece. He managed to keep it out of the barriers, but there's Josh Mason in a fifth place in that number 21 car. There you see the top five in full. Christian Mansell just about within slipstream range of Oliver Goethe at the moment. He needs to keep that slipstream. If he allows Goethe to get to the point where he's no longer providing Christian a tow, then that will be critical for his chances in the race.
Well, he was a second out. He's now just over, well, 6.5 tenths of a second is the gap between Mansell and Goethe. Garcia has been defending like a man possessed right now, because Philipp Ugran is all over his rear, as well as Josh Mason, who's come in to join the fight. So these three have been pretty much dueling it out, and I'm absolutely sure that the Kemmel Straight is going to provide an opportunity, a lock-up in towards the source there. I believe that was Philipp Ugran who locked up there slightly. There's certainly Christian Mansell with the fastest lap, as Simonazzi makes his way out of La Source now, as they now head up through towards Eau Rouge and Radion once again. And still in third place, Alex Garcia. There you can see in the back back of shot. Josh Mason looking to join the fun, and once again they'll make the almighty climb. Mason looks very close though as they head up now this long straight as he goes alongside his competitor Philip Ugran, side by side between the pair as they now head up towards Les Combes once again. Mason, is he going to find it? It looks like it. He's up into P4. A wonderful move by Josh Mason, calculated, very well done indeed. He's now chasing Alex Garcia.
Up to 4th place already then is Josh Mason. We saw him carve his way through the order in, I think it was race 2 at Paul Ricard. And now we're seeing him do it again. It might have been the first race, actually. I can't remember off the top of my head. But nonetheless, Josh has been strong this year. He's been great with his overtaking moves. He's had some trouble on the first lap here and there this season, but on this occasion he had a brilliant start and he's continuing to press on through the order. Alex Garcia is his next target. Meanwhile, Christian Mansell holding on there to the back of Goethe as we get a look at the start. And Freddie Lubin didn't really get started at all there on the back of the grid. I didn't spot that as we called that live. Mansell, though, with a fabulous start at the head of the order, managed to get himself up into the lead, but only briefly. And here's a look at what happened further back between Garcia and Ugran on the second lap of the race. Ugran crossing over and remains behind Alex Garcia and now also behind Josh Mason. Now in 5th place is Philip Ugran. It is Oliver Goethe in the lead of this race, though. Christian Mansell there in 2nd position as they head through the bus stop chicane for the 3rd time. Someone peeling off there, that was Lonko going wide. I think just tried to ask too much of the brakes going into the bus stop. Ladislav Lonko down there in 7th. Of course, we saw that Lubin didn't really get off the line properly from what is now 8th place, but Lonko and Lubin are still down there towards the back half of the order. Josh Mason, meanwhile, has done a stellar job and is now fighting for a podium.
He is, he's doing a super job, starting where he did off the grid. He's now up into 4th and chasing Alex Garcia as well to boot. But got to give credit to Frederick Lubin. He's managed to claw back some of that delta that he lost at the start of the race, managing to get past Simonazzi, as well as Philip Camignaz as well, who was unfortunately towards the back of the field after that issue. As now we're seeing once again Josh Mason, this time looking to tackle Alex Garcia, takes the outside line now, heading into Les Combes, not quite. Alex Garcia once again marshalling, defending exquisitely in this moment in time. He's done that all race long so far. He is absolutely valiantly defending this 3rd place. Doesn't want to see it lost, Adam.
Absolutely not. Alex Garcia has been improving weekend on weekend thus far in Euroformula Open. He would love to get onto the podium. We spoke about it just before the race. He smiled when I said, right, well, you've got to work your way up from 4th now, haven't you? Got to get on the podium. And at the moment, he's doing it. He's there in 3rd place. Josh Mason there in 4th, though, will be challenging hard. Has fallen back a couple of car lengths there. Of course, there's not that much room for error when it comes to Josh Mason either, because Philip Ugran still right there with him as well. Oh, Mansell with a moment there. Christian Mansell off onto the gravel there on the outside of Vanya. Oh, that was a huge moment there. Thankfully, he managed to keep the car pointed the right way, but I think that was quite a nasty moment for him. He lost about 1.5 seconds there to Oliver Goethe in that moment alone. He and Goethe have been trading fastest laps for the last couple of laps. Mansell was clearly pushing, and that was very, very lucky, really, that he bounced the right way.
Well, to be fair, he did very well to keep control of the car.
Yeah.
The car was pretty much off the ground as we now see yet another scrap, this time between Garcia and Ugran. Lonko and Ogard heading through this next final chicane. Do apologise, folks at home, as we're now watching them make their way down through towards turn 1 yet again. As now as they do so, La Source beckons. There you can see Josh Mason still very much showing the rear there of Alex Garcia as they now power their way out of the hairpin bend, now leaning up towards Eau Rouge and Radion. I tell you what, Kemmel has certainly offered us plenty to certainly talk about, that's for sure. And I can imagine Josh Mason fancies another one because, of course, he dispatched Ugran earlier on. He might fancy a go at Alex Garcia now, heading out of Radion as now they make their way up towards Kemmel. And I'll have to say, he might get it done before Les Combes. In comes Josh Mason now, outside line, showing the pace in his car, that's for sure. Past Alex Garcia, the Mexican. He can't defend from this one. Or can he attack now heading into Les Combes? Not quite. Very well marshalled. Josh Mason on a gargantuan rise. He's now in the podium.
Excellent stuff then from Josh Mason. I think he may have had a little whiff of a toe there, you know, from Christian Mansell as well, because he was just tucked in behind Mansell as they ran down the Kemmel Straight. That may have made a little bit of a difference for Mason. Mason up into third place, Alex Garcia down to fourth, but you know he's going to fight back. Saw a black and white flag being displayed out there. It's the 96 car. Track limits warning for Oliver Goethe. He needs to be careful then. Here's a replay of Lomco making the move for 6th position. So he is getting up the order now. Dispatches Sebastian Ogard. Let's see if he can progress up into the top 5 or whether he's going to have to continue to scrap with the Danish driver. Sebastian Ogard doesn't have a lot of quit in him, it must be said. I think he'll try and fight back if he possibly can. Garcia, meanwhile, has to watch out now for Philip Ugran. Ugran is closer to him than Garcia is to Mason. Mason in third place has already got a good few car lengths over the Mexican driver in 4th place. And Philip Ugran, there in 5th position, may well soon be launching a campaign to get back up into 4th place. Of course, Ugran will want a positive result from this race. He started on the front row of the grid from qualifying. And here comes Lomco, almost a complete replica of what we saw from Sebastian Ogard. That was eerily similar to the move that Lomco made on Sebastian Ogard. And Lomco has indeed moved up into the top 5. And, well, the 24 car looks to be on song.
Yeah, Vladislav Lomco, of course, has got some vibrant form in the championship this year. Obviously, counting out podiums of 6 podiums to his name, and I'm sure you'd like to add another one. Of course, he needs to get past the next 2 cars to do so, as now we're watching them make the almighty climb out of Eau Rouge and Radion. Still, Ollie Goethe leads, Mansell in 2nd, owing to that little error earlier on. The gap has now sprung out to over 3 seconds. Josh Mason starting to chop at that wood. The delta time coming down slowly but steadily. Josh Mason with the pace right now, and you only have to wonder what he could have achieved in qualifying had he been able to finish at it.
Exactly right, yes. A few drivers with the red flag hampering their progress in qualifying. Red flag was put out all of 2 minutes before the end of the session as well, which meant obviously there was no point getting the session back underway because it's a 2-minute 20-second plus outlap here at the Spa-Francorchamps circuit. So unfortunately they were robbed of an opportunity to set a fast lap. The 3 people in question being Lomco, Lubin and Josh Mason. But Mason up into 3rd place. He's still yet to score a podium in Euroformula Open in his 2nd season. He's had the pace he's been deserving on many an occasion, and if Josh can do it today, then I know that there are going to be celebrations down there at the Crypto Tower team.
Yeah, 100%. They will be delighted with certainly the progress that they've made this weekend. Oh, you just see there a little bit of a correction there for Vladislav Lomco as he made his way through bus stop, executing the move on Philip Ugran. As now we're watching all the cars, they make their way through towards the next right out of Paul Frere. And very shortly around turn 16, well, they'll soon meet Blanchimont. That's very high speed, put your foot down left-hander, as they'll make their way down through towards bus stop. And still certainly Goethe leads, and he's got a healthy advantage, but the battles going on in behind are certainly interesting. You can see there's Sebastian Ogard trying to get into the fray here with his teammate Philip Ugran, who's just ahead now as they head into the bus stop chicane now, looking to get side by side. But Philip Ugran doing well to marshal the approach from his teammate Sebastian Ogard as they make their way out onto the home straight. They've got La Source up next. Might be an opportunity here as they make their way down towards that particular corner. You might fancy Sebastian Ogard would like to perhaps get the move executed heading up the Kemmel Straight. We've seen how successful that's been so far this race, as they make their way up towards Eau Rouge and Radion very shortly, past the pit lane on the right-hand side. And there you can see them all roaming and looking to fly now, heading up through this section of the circuit. And as they do so, out of Eau Rouge and Radion, Polacks their way up this long, high elevation charge of the Kemmel Straight. And as they do so, nose to tail between the pair. Is there enough here for Sebastian Ogard to potentially make a move heading in towards Lake Com? He does indeed go side by side with Philip Ugran. A chance certainly to dance here at Lake Com. It certainly is. Sebastian Ogard now up in to 6th place.
Great move there from Sebastian Ogard up into P6, as you so rightly say. Good move then for him. His next two targets, Lomco and Garcia, are of course also in the rookie class with him. So in terms of the rookie class points, it would be very helpful for Sebastian Ogard if he can go and challenge Lomco and Garcia. Philip Ugran just doesn't seem to be able to call upon the same pace that he had in qualifying. Of course, he was on the front row of the grid. Yes, a few drivers didn't manage to get push laps in, but Ugran was quick all day yesterday as well. Third in both the free practice sessions yesterday, but it seems as though Philip not quite having an optimal run when it comes to race number 1.
No, not at all. Let's have a look now as we see Christian Mansell still in second. The time's starting to slip away from him. I get the feeling that he feels resided to second right now. Certainly Goethe has powered onwards. The gap now between him and Mansell is at 4.6 seconds, and Josh Mason is urging ever closer. Now you have to wonder, this is a huge opportunity for Josh Mason to certainly grab himself a podium. He certainly was looking forward to this race. We met him just before we got underway, and he was getting himself certainly pumped for the event. As now we're watching once again these two come together. That is, of course, Alex Garcia and Vladislav Lomco this time, who's looking to try and move his way up the order as they now make their way down through the long straight, down through towards the source. And there you can see the gap between Goethe and Mansell. Wow, that's been strung out at him.
Yeah, up to 4.7 seconds now. It's gone out and out and out over the last few laps. Goethe, the only driver out there consistently setting 2-minute 13s. I think you're quite right to say that Mansell, I think, has resigned himself to getting the points for second in this race, which certainly wouldn't be a bad thing. I wonder if maybe towards the end he may have a go at a fastest lap, whether he's trying to save himself some tyres for when the fuel load goes down. But he's got to be careful of Josh Mason. He and Josh are good friends off the track. They've interviewed together for the social feeds and things of that nature. They're great friends, but when push comes to shove, if Josh gets anywhere near the gearbox of Christian Mansell, you best believe the battle will be on. The same applies to Alex Garcia and Vladislav Lomco. Look at those two in 4th and 5th place, very close together, and Vladislav Lomco in the 69 car, running in 5th place for Crypto Tower, is going to try and do anything he can to get around Alex Garcia here. Of course, this isn't just 4th overall, it's also the rookie class lead.
Yeah, well, certainly Josh Mason feels that he is the winner of the fashion battle, certainly at the moment, but at this moment in time, it's still Christian Mansell who's ahead of him in 2nd place. Mason now, within a second, 8/10 is now all that stands between the pairs, so Josh Mason will have a chance to potentially execute against his teammate here at this point as they come through this next right-hander. Vladislav Lomco, as you can see in picture, heading through the Les Farniers chicane, and very shortly heading down through towards campus at turn 14. Still Goethe leads by a real healthy margin. 4.6 was the last time we registered. Josh Mason in behind now. It's just popped out to a second now between Mason and Mansell, so Mansell finding that little bit of pace, approximately 2 to 3 tenths added on top of Mason's time, with Alex Garcia now in 4th, with Lomco breathing down his neck about half a second back. So certainly lots of opportunity. Certainly podiums are still very much on the table. 2nd and 3rd still up for grabs. As things stand, anything can happen at Spa, as now we see Vladislav Lomco getting closer to Alex Garcia.
Lomco getting closer. We know the bus stop is his ideal overtaking manoeuvre. He wasn't close enough for that. Car 14 start will be investigated after the race. That is Philip Ugran, car 14. Yes, that's Philip Ugran again. Not respecting escape road at turn 5 will be investigated after the race. So Philip Ugran is going to have to go and have a chat, I think, with the stewards after this race. We're just over half distance, though, and Alex Garcia is about to come under threat from Vladislav Lomco. Up through Eau Rouge and then Radion they come, and it's the long run up the Kemmel Straight that follows. Garcia once again looks into the mirrors, and this time it's Vladislav Lomco who is his challenger. Lomco's gone to the outside, and Lomco surely will have a nose ahead. Will it be enough to take the position? He's trying to get to the inside of Garcia, and he makes it stick. Great move from Vladislav Lomco, textbook stuff there. And his run wasn't quite good enough to put himself all the way clear of Garcia, and that may have again been quite useful, because that meant that Garcia couldn't get into the slipstream and counter-attack. He was really defenseless there against Vladislav Lomco, who moves up into 4th position at the expense of Alex Garcia.
And also crucially leads the rookie standings right now. Oh, a bit of a whisper there on the gravel. Imagine it sounded anything but a whisper, to be honest. Alex Garcia licking the gravel slightly, but managing to survive at that point as he now makes his way around Pouon and will make his way down through towards the Le Farnier chicane. As you can see behind him now, Sebastian Ogard looking to get himself into the frame of things, towing along Philippe Hugran as well as they head through this next chicane again here at Le Farnier. Campus coming up shortly. This next double right-hander that is coming up next, that'll certainly lead them around Paul Frere, and then very soon taking their descent towards what will be turn 16 and the fast 17 left-hander at Blanchimont. There you can see them all in tow, nose to tail, nothing separates the lot of them. One little twitch can change it all as they head down through towards the final chicane at bus stop. I have to tell you, I get the feeling these last 6 laps could be a cracker.
Could well be, certainly there on the fringes of the podium. It could be anyone's game just yet. Great to see such scrapping all throughout the order. And there's Garcia in 5th position, with Ogard all over the back of him. Sebastian Ogard would love to get a top 5 out of his first race. Start as you mean to go on. And Sebastian Ogard would certainly hope for a podium if he possibly can, but I think top 5 more realistic at this stage in the race. Oliver Goethe is still lapping around the venue quicker than just about anybody, well, everybody, I should say. He has dropped down into the low 2:14s now, but everyone else is down there in the high 14s, if not the 2:15. So once again, Goethe extending his lead. It's now out to 6.4 seconds. The gap has extended to over Christian Mansell. Nothing like as much of a gap, though, between Mansell and Mason. As you can see, Josh Mason trying to get by, but wasn't quite close enough to the back of Christian Mansell on that occasion. He had a good look, though, didn't he? And the rest of the field streamed through as we get a look over Le Combe with the drone cam there. Great stuff. Great camera work here from the production team. And Christian Mansell holds on to P2. But for how much longer? Because Josh Mason has been stellar in this race.
He's breathing down his neck right now, certainly minuscule, the gap thinner than a fly's eyelash. They're well within 1.5 tenths of a second, and Josh Mason looking to try and pepper the rear end of Mansell's car. Certainly Lonco now at this moment in time has managed to secure that 4th place, has built the gap between him and Alex Garcia, who's got bigger fish to fry now because Sebastian Ogard has got certainly his number, well, you'd think so, certainly being currently stuck just under 3.5 tenths of a second of the realm, with Philippe Hugran as well looking to come in and join the fun too. So that's the battle for 5th place between Garcia and Ogard. And as car number 14 gets a warning for track limits, that's Philippe Hugran, as we now watch the cars make their way through this next right-hander. Very soon out of Paul Frere. There you can see now this battle starting to wind up between Alex Garcia and Sebastian Ogard. The time starting to come down steadily, 3 tenths near enough, or 3.5 tenths of a second the gap, as now they make their way around the fast left-hander of Blanchimont down through towards what will be the bus stop chicane, and you can just see him edging closer and closer and closer. Sebastian Ogard with only one thing on his mind, and that is 5th place.
Alex Garcia locking up there, just didn't quite get turned into the first apex of the bus stop, and that could be the opportunity that Ogard needs. Ogard, I don't think, will make the move at the source. He has a little look to the inside, but now, of course, being right there on the back of Garcia, who locks up once again, means that surely Ogard is going to have a good opportunity here as they run down towards Eau Rouge and Radion. I don't think he's quite going to be close enough to try and go side by side. I'm sure he's more than brave enough to try, but the circumstances weren't quite right on that occasion. He will, however, be right behind the 24 car as they run down the Kemmel Straight. Goes to the outside, does Sebastian Ogard. You really do have to take the inside as the defending driver in a battle like this, but often that outside line can be handy at the end of Kemmel. Not quite, though, on this occasion for Sebastian Ogard. Garcia holding on. Garcia remaining in 5th place.
Did very well indeed. I think under the circumstances it was getting so tight between the pair, but making their way now down through towards the next right-hander, and according to our timing screens, Ogard in front in 5th place, Garcia in 6th, Hugran 7th, Freddie Lubin in 8th, Simonazzi down in 9th, Kimianes in 10th, as they now make their way heading out of the left-hander, as we now watch them make their way down through towards the next left-hander. Garcia still holding on to that 5th spot. We'll wait for the timing screens to well, certainly take care of themselves, with Garcia now in 5th, Ogard in 6th, Hugran 7th. Freddie Lubin trying to urge his way closer too, but still currently, as things stand, Goethe in front, and he's managed to stretch the lead again, 7.2 seconds between him and Mansell, with Mason still in 3rd.
Yeah, Garcia was just behind Ogard at the end of Sector 1. 100th of a second between the two of them. They were side by side, and Ogard in 5th for a few moments, a few fleeting moments. How long will he be in 6th for is the big question. How much longer? I don't know if he'll still be there by the end of the race, though, because each and every lap, Alex Garcia is put under more pressure, not just from Seb, but also Ugran and Lubin behind him. So let's see what happens here with Alex Garcia on this occasion. He's locked up again. Everyone there seemingly running deep. Ugran more so than anyone else. Is that the opportunity that Lubin needs for a move? 7th place could be under threat here for Philip Ugran. Look at Lubin hiding behind Philip Ugran almost as they run down towards the source. Can he do it around the outside? Surely not. Surely not. Not on this occasion, but he will now get a good run up the Kemmel straight, although of course Philip Ugran will have the benefit of the tow from the battle going on ahead of him.
Yeah, absolutely. Lubin with a huge opportunity now himself, just currently urging his car closer behind Philip Ugran. He is within 1.5 tenths of a second, and I'm sure he will be closer with the use of slipstream now heading up through the Kemmel straight. Does look to go side by side now. Here comes Frederick Lubin, this time looking for that P7 spot. Philip Ugran has got to try and put his best defensive hat on as they now make their way in towards Lake Com. It won't be enough, surely, because Frederick Lubin now has the upper hand, goes ahead and does move ahead into that 7th place. Great move indeed, well executed, calmly done, smoothly does it.
Absolutely right, yeah. Lubin up to 7th place. Of course, he didn't have the best run of it in quali as we established earlier on. He was, however, fastest in free practice 2 yesterday. Unfortunately, as Ugran, they're having a bit of a moment there, kicking up the gravel, coming through what's now known as Jackie X Corner, formerly known as No Name or Speaker's Corner. Ugran, they're just getting a wheel on the gravel, and, well, he's lost touch now with Freddie Lubin, so Lubin can focus for the remaining, 2 1/3 of a lap on maybe, just maybe, getting in amongst it with Garcia and Ogard, although on the last couple of laps, this battle for 5th seems to have become a bit subdued. Sebastian Ogard hasn't been able to quite mount the same challenge from Alex Garcia as we saw a couple of laps ago.
No, not at all. Alex Garcia has managed to sort of send the gap out further. Obviously currently sat within 7 tenths of a second as now we're watching Ollie Goethe make his way through the bus stop chicane, leading the way with the fastest lap to boot as well. But further up, or just behind him, should I say, Mansell in 2nd place. Very well aware that Josh Mason is urging closer and closer as we can now see the cars make their way through. Mansell looking a bit twitchy, heading at a bus stop with Mason now on his rear and looks very, very close indeed. They will have La Source to take once again, with now you can see Josh Mason just showing in the mirrors there of Christian Mansell, giving him something to think about at this point. And you can just see once again the rear just starting to shake a little bit on Mansell's car ever so slightly. Now could that be an issue, as now Josh Mason right on his tail as they make their way up towards Eau Rouge and very shortly Radion as well. Christian Mansell with teammate Josh Mason locked right in behind him here. Huge opportunity for Mason to typify his opposition and move up into 2nd place as they now go side by side once again up through Kemmel. Lake Com beckons, Mason on top, he moves into 2nd. Here comes Mansell though, can he try and tag back? Outside line heading into Lake Com. They go side by side and he takes the escape road. Will he give it to Mason? We'll wait and see. Still they remain side by side coming through Malmedy, but still at this moment it's Mason. It will be Mason. He's in 2nd place.
Great stuff between Mansell and Mason there, and it is Josh Mason up to 2nd place. Christian Mansell down to 3rd, as you alluded to there on those last couple of corners. We saw it at La Source, we saw it previous to that at the bus stop. Christian Mansell seemingly really struggling for rear traction. He tried to go around the outside at Le Camp. He realized the space wasn't going to be forthcoming, cut back across, tried to go around the outside at Malmedy. Wasn't possible though. And on this occasion, Josh Mason has jumped himself up into 2nd place. Can he hold on? Sideways stuff from Vladislav Lomko as well. He's clearly pushing. He'd love to try and get a podium out of this. Christian Mansell is going to try certainly to catch up and repass Josh Mason, but he's also got to worry about Lomko behind.
Yeah, tremendous drive from Lomko. If you remember, he was the one who caused the red flag in qualifying, started from the back of the grid. He's now in 4th place. Currently sat 7 tenths of a second is the difference at this moment in time, as we can now see at this moment in time that Josh Mason still holds on to that second place, that Christian Mansell is trying to urge his car closer and closer. He might yet get another chance here, heading up on the Kemmel Straight himself. So he might choose to attack. Let's wait and see. They come through bus stop. As Adam alluded to earlier on, this is a very vital part of the circuit. It can certainly decide whether the deltas come cascading downwards or not, as you can now see them edging closer and closer. And look at Lomko in behind Adam. He looks absolutely venomous right now.
Yes, he does. Certainly Mansell's going to have a go, isn't he, at Josh Mason. We know Christian doesn't leave much on the table when it's offered. I don't think Lomko's actually quite close enough. He didn't seem to get a great run out of La Source, so I'm not sure he's going to be a factor in this unless the toe is stronger than I know. But Christian Mansell is right there behind Josh Mason. Is it going to be a duplicate of what we saw a lap ago, but with roles reversed? Mansell and Mason side by side. Mansell draws alongside, has an axle ahead. Who's going to have second place by the time they get to Le Combe? It's Mansell around the outside. Oh, the two of them very, very close indeed. Mason gives them racing room, but he's got a clip there. There was a bit of a collision between the two of them, the slightest touch. Let's hope that hasn't damaged Mason's car. But Mason and Mansell, great racing room between the two of them. But what that moment there has done, as Mansell moves into second place, is risk Josh Mason losing that podium. Vladislav Lomko right there behind. And, well, let's see if the Pau Grand Prix winner from earlier this season can maybe get on the podium in the final lap.
He might have a good chance. He's getting closer and closer to Josh Mason's car. There was that little tiny collision. That made all the difference. Of course, Mason getting so close to the side of Mansell's car, literally on the rear tyre it looked like. It got so close between the pair, but Mansell managing to execute the crucial overtake and get into second place as it stood right now. But no questions, it's this man. It's Ollie Goethe. He leads this race currently, Adam, and he looks like he's going to bring it home.
Almost forgot that he was out there. Oliver Goethe, 12.9 seconds clear as of the second sector over Christian Mansell. It's been another trademark signature Oliver Goethe drive, and his regular finishing position awaits him. A win, a checkered flag, and Oliver Goethe again takes the win. Mason holding on to third place, is he? Oh, he was very deep in the braking zone there at the bus stop. Has he done enough? I think he has. Christian Mansell holds on to second place, and Mason does take his inaugural Euroformula Open podium. So well deserved for Josh Mason. First time ever on the podium in Euroformula Open. Great stuff from him. Vladislav Lomko takes fourth. Alex Garcia rounding out the top five ahead of Sebastian Ogard. Vladislav Lomko, of course, also taking the rookie class honours. In seventh place was Freddie Lubin. Eighth place, Philip Ugran. Francesco Simonazzi in ninth, and Philip Caminiaz on his return to the category rounds out the order in 10th place. But it's going to be jubilation and celebration once again for Oliver Goethe, a man so familiar with pulling up in front of that number one board, and he's done it again. Here you see the order in front of you once again. Goethe, Mansell and Mason are podium. Oliver Goethe, of course, once again takes a win at a different circuit. The streak of taking a victory at all of our venues continues. Mansell, Mason, Lomko and Garcia, your top five. Sebastian Ogard in sixth, ahead of Freddie Lubin, Philip Ugran, Francesco Simonazzi and Philip Caminiaz.
Get in here.
And here is the Drivers' Championship. 198 points now provisionally for Oliver Goethe. 44 points back now is Christian Mansell, who did well to take that second place after a late scrap with Josh Mason. Mason with his first podium in Euroformula Open after a season and a bit of trying. He almost had it at Pau earlier this year. He had the pace for it at Paul Ricard, and now finally Josh Mason has his podium. I'm so delighted to see that for him, and we will hear from Oliver Goethe in just a moment. But goodness me, considering both Mason and Lomko had to start from towards the tail end of the order, they both did exceedingly well in that race.
They did. It was such a good race as well, a great battle. Obviously, Goethe just showed the form that we've seen all season, as we can now see him preparing for an interview with Alfredo Filipponi, as you can see in picture. But what a day for Crypto Tower as well, P2, 3 and 4, as we witnessed a tremendous fight. Certainly there is Josh Mason, your third place driver. An epic performance, no less. What could have been? He could have been second, but he held on for a podium. There's Christian Mansell, the man who took it from him. Of course, those two very good friends off the track, as Adam alluded to, but nevertheless, they'll be pleased with both their performances. But this man, Ollie Goethe, I'll say it again, the Great Dane has done it again, and we'll hear from him very, very shortly now.
Oliver Goethe, you made it once again, but the start was so-and-so.
Yeah, the start wasn't the best, but it's probably better here to come out second of the first corner to get a slipstream up the first straight. So I got the place back quickly. Then it was quite close after I made a mistake in Puon on the second lap or something. And Christian was right behind me, putting pressure on, but I managed to make a gap. And then that gap just kept increasing, and yeah, no, very, very good.
Yeah. The rest seemed easy, but how difficult it was in the heat. It's very hot today.
It was quite difficult in the heat. Obviously, when you're fighting, it's more difficult, but on my own, it was quite calm. I just had to be careful with track limits, obviously, with the warning I got. But yeah, it wasn't too difficult at the end, yeah.
So the box Spa is strict too now.
Sorry?
The box Spa is strict.
Yeah, I think so far I've got a record of getting a win at every event. So hopefully that can continue.
Enjoy. Well done.
So the first of 3 races for Euroformula Open at Spa is complete. Let's take a look at what happened here today. Oliver Goethe with a decent start, but not a spectacular one. The spectacular start went to Christian Mansell, who led through La Source. On the first lap of the race, Philip Ugran under pressure from Alex Garcia in the early stages for 3rd place as well. But Goethe had the slipstream up the hill towards Le Combe, and he used it expertly to get back past Christian Mansell. Oliver Goethe into the lead of the race. Elsewhere, further back, this is Garcia under pressure from Josh Mason, who had a fabulous start to the race. This was him moving up to P3 at the expense of Alex Garcia from the tail end of the grid. And then it was Mason versus Mansell as they ran up to La Source with a couple of laps to go. They had a few exchanges. Initially, it was Mason up into P2, despite Mansell's best efforts around the outside. However, on the last gasp opportunity, Mansell once again attacked, and this time he managed to get through into 2nd place. Tiny little clip between the two of them, but thankfully no harm, no foul. Oliver Goethe, though, 13 seconds clear of the chasing pack. Once again, the Great Dane has taken the spoils here at Spa-Francorchamps, the first race of the weekend. And he once again is a winner in Euroformula Open. He once again opens his gap between himself and Christian Mansell in the championship points. Podium will be underway in just a moment then, and I'm sure that we'll see some tired drivers out there. Alfredo alluded to it. These conditions are certainly tricky for all of the drivers, no matter what condition they're in.
Sweltering, very, very hot indeed. I mean, it's been near enough 30 to 35 degrees all weekend, and certainly being in a car, a hot, sweaty car, but I have to say nothing will take the smile off that man's face. Josh Mason with a podium here this weekend at Spa, and he'll celebrate alongside teammate as well, Christian Mansell, how they fought towards the end in that race. It was a pleasure to watch, to say the least. Mason did his best to hold him back, but it wasn't enough. But they couldn't stop this man, could they? Ollie Goethe once again, and as he confirmed through his interview, managing to get a win at every track so far on the calendar, which is certainly a record to be proud of, Adam.
Yeah, absolutely right. Here's the national anthem of Denmark. There you see Josh's family and friends watching on. Third place, Josh Mason taking his first podium. Second place, Christian Mansell with another podium. And of course, Oliver Goethe with another win. All three of them getting up on the top step there. And great to see the guys still all on friendly terms after that. A little bit of contact, but hopefully nothing more than that between Mason and Mansell. And you see, they're all very crafty. They walked away, ran away before Oliver Goethe could do anything there. He had to abandon his grand plan. Mansell and Mason know what they're doing. We do have the rookie podium to do as well. Vladislav Lomko, Alex Garcia, Sebastian Ogard, the three drivers we expect to see on the rookie podium. You see them there. And of course, these three were also 4th, 5th and 6th in the overall, so it's almost like a secondary podium in the sense of the overall order as well. You see, already heading up onto the podium, Sebastian Ogard from 3rd in the rookie class. 2nd, Alex Garcia, top 5 finish from 4th on the grid, was holding 3rd for a while there. He won't be entirely delighted with his result today, but he should be, because he ran very well indeed in Alex Garcia. But Vladislav Lomko once again on top in the rookie category. And Vladislav Lomko's season continues to get better and better. I mean, once again, he had podium pace. Of course, he didn't get that podium today, but he does have the pace for it.
You have to wonder what could have been again after his start. Obviously, starting from the back, made his way forward and in 4th place as well. So it was a wonderful performance, to say the least.
And there we go. That's it for today from Spa. Join us tomorrow for races 2 and 3 in Euroformula Open.